Listen to my advice about taxation. It's going to save you a lot of heartache. What the tax office is going to do, they're going to assume that you're going to earn another $1 million for the next financial year. So now they're going to make you prepay that. What? You're going to fall off the chair when I tell you this. The current government wants to put in a tax of people fall into this mindset where they don't want to earn more money because they're going to have to pay more tax. Are you crazy? You don't want to cap yourself in the beginning, because at the end of the day, the more money you earn, even if you do have to pay tax, you're still going to have more money in your pocket. It can be quite complicated now setting up companies and operating in the UK. The way around that is to actually, I'm Matthew Fraser, and this is Amazon Ecom Secrets. I'll be sharing with you the secrets that helped me go from millions in debt to an 8-figure entrepreneur. If you're ready to escape the 9-to-5 and live life on your terms, let me show you the way. Hey guys, welcome to Amazon Ecom Secrets. My name is Matthew Fraser, and in today's episode, I'm going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is regulation and taxes. And this should be something that you should definitely listen up in, because it's something that people don't want to know about really, but once they look at their bank balance or see how much money's been taken out in tax, they kind of do want to know about it, yeah? So let me tell you that some of the things that I've learned just in recent days and in recent years about how to either minimize tax or save yourself from going down the sort of strange alleyways with government regulation, how to avoid it basically. Now, the first thing I want to say is I want to premise this by saying I pay all of my taxes. I am legal, and I'm not saying that you should not pay tax, okay? Particularly in the country where you live, because I tell you what, you don't want to get handcuffed, right? So definitely follow the rules and regulations regarding taxation. However, you certainly want to be in a position where you either know about how to minimize tax legally, and so you can put more money in your pocket. There's some of the things right now that I'm just completely obsessed about. One is how to pay less tax, because I'm paying a freaking fortune and it just shits me to tears every single day I see how much money I have to actually pay out. And the other thing is I'm completely focused on is accumulating Bitcoin. Just as a side note, completely obsessed with it. But let's talk about tax. Now, there's just certain things that come along in your journey where you then start to pay attention to. And once you get to the position where you're making millions of dollars every year, this might be something that you will certainly start to pay attention on. And I have a bookkeeper, I have an accounting team that I pay. Like my accountant, for example, costs me over $2,500 a month. For most people, that is like a shitload of money. But then you add my bookkeeper on top of that, it's over $3,000 a month, every single month that I have to pay. Yeah, in order to mitigate the tax that I have to pay. But it's also not even mitigating. It's just actually just following the rules of the system by reporting on tax. So the government imposes this regulation on me, which I then have to pay. Yeah. Now I don't get a credit from the government because I have to pay that. You've got to pay that out of your own pocket. Now it is a tax deduction, but that's it. Now, I was talking to a client the other day and I said, look, please let me share this bit of information with you, because my client is right now about to start making millions of dollars. And I said, when I started making millions of dollars, this hit me hard. And that is, I didn't put money aside for income tax for the company. And I had just millions of dollars pouring into my bank accounts. And I thought, this is fantastic. And look, I knew there was going to be tax to be paid, but I just sort of kicked that can down the road. And then of course, at the end of financial year, tax financial year, I just got this bill basically from my accountant, but my accountant informed me, hey, you're going to now be due to pay. And I think at the time it was nearly $1 million, yeah, in tax. But I basically spent it. You know, I bought properties and, bought more stock and just did a whole bunch of things. Paid off some previous debts. If you've heard my story, you can go back to episode 1 if you want to hear my full story of how I came out of $1 million of actual debt and then climb my way out of that to now do over $45 million in sales. In actual fact, I think it's now closer to, not over 45 million, it's closer to $50 million in sales. But who's counting? Now, I got this bill, it's $1 million. And I was like, oh, shit, this can't be real. I actually went back to the accountant and I said, man, you've got to be joking, right? How much do I actually have to, is this really what I've got to pay? Like you've done all the numbers, you've written off all the expenses. And he's like, yeah, it's $1 million. Damn. So at that stage, I was still had millions of dollars pouring in. So from a cash flow perspective, I simply earned some more money, went and paid my tax bill of nearly $1 million. But this is where it hits you. And this is what I said to my client. What the tax office is going to do is they're now going to make you pay they're going to assume that you're going to earn another $1 million for the next financial year. So now they're going to make you prepay that ongoing, right? When you're like, what? So not only in that first year, if you don't save up that money, you're going to have to pay the $1 million in tax. And then you're going to have to also pay the future $1 million in installments, generally in the quarter. So you're talking $250,000 a freaking quarter that you're going to have to pay the tax office in advance because they expect you to make roughly the same amount. And so if your cash flow is up shit creek by that time, or you're not controlling the money, it could really F you up. And so I said to my client, don't make my mistake. Look, I was in a position where I was still, like I said, I was still making millions so I could simply pay for it. However, it still did hurt the cash flow because I'd already forked out the $1 million, plus now I'm going to have to spend another $250 a quarter. So I said, simply put money aside from day one for income tax. And I would put it in the vicinity of at least 20%. If not, if you want to be even more conservative, go to 30% of all of the income coming into your bank account. Put that into a separate bank account so that by the end of the financial year, you're just going to have that money already put aside to pay the tax. So that could be something that really stuffs people up if you don't play it right. So the other thing I want to think about too is just the mindset of people when it comes to taxation. Sometimes people fall into this, I don't know, it's a weird mindset where they don't want to earn more money because they're going to have to potentially pay more tax, which to me is like, look, are you crazy? What? So you just want to stay? I know, actually, I'll tell you a story. I did speak to someone who came to my house. He was actually a window washer. And he said to me, oh, look, I'm keeping my business. That's right. He didn't want to register for GST in Australia because he didn't want to earn over $75,000 a year, which I believe is the cap, right? $75,000 a year. After that, you've got to then account for GST or charge GST. And I just looked at him. I was like, what do you mean? You just want to earn up to $75,000, but you don't want to earn any more because you don't want to have to go through the hassle of then getting GST. And is that the craziest thing that you ever thought of? Let me know in the comments if that is totally batshit crazy, because your idea should be, I want to earn as much money as possible. Forget about the tax. I just want to earn as much money as possible. And then I'm going to hire an accountant to figure the rest out so I can minimize my tax. Okay. You don't want to cap yourself in the beginning by saying, I only want to earn X amount of dollars because above that, I might have to incur some taxes, right? Because at the end of the day, the more money you earn, even if you do have to pay tax, which I hate, you're still going to have more money in your pocket, right? So think about that, okay? Go get the right advice. Hey guys, I just want to break away from the episode for just one moment and let you know that I've just launched the Amazon Launchpad mini course. Now, this is designed for people who want to get started on Amazon really, really fast. But guess what? I can get you launched your first product on Amazon with just 5 hours. You just have to click on the link below, join my community, and the course is absolutely free. All right, thanks guys, and back to the episode. Now, when you're thinking about tax, there's just certain things that really irk you, and that is when political parties or like a new government brings out more taxes. And we're supposed to be in this cost of living crisis. We've got no money, splish splash money. I don't suffer from that. I can afford to pay the general bills. I'm fortunate now because I've worked hard to get to where I am. But even when you get to the point where you're earning hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, the government wants you to put more money aside to save for your retirement. And I was talking to my accountant the other day, as I do, every quarter we have a sit-down meeting, and I'm going to share this information with you because it really irked me, and it's something that you want to think about as well when you're now thinking about saving for your retirement. Let's say you're earning money through your Amazon business, it's doing quite well. You're going to think about, hey, I'm going to put some of this money aside for the future. And so I was accumulating money in a self-managed super fund, okay? And my accountant said to me, now look, Matthew, just be careful because above $3 million, the current Labor federal government wants to put in a tax, or they're putting in a tax. It's going to be, and look, this is going to, you're going to fall off the chair when I tell you this, 47% tax on unrealized gains above $3 million. And you're going to be like, what? Is that totally crazy? Yeah, it is. It's freaking batshit crazy. So let me just give you this, give the example. Let's say that you in your super fund, you've put property, and Australians love to buy property, and they put property, sometimes they put it in their super fund. And let's say that your properties have gone from $3 million value, which is the cap where there's no tax, and then it went to $4 million. Let's say something amazing happened and that property is now just worth more money, just for argument's sake. So it's an increase now in value of $1 million in that financial year. Under this regulation, the government says, well, of that $1 million increase, you're now going to have to pay us 47%, which is $470,000. Yeah, I know, you're falling off your chair, right? And I'm just scratching my head going, hang on a second, this can't be real. Wait for it. It's not when you sell the property, it's on unrealized gains, which means that if it just increases in value, you now have to pay the tax on the increased value, even if you don't sell the property, right? I said, yeah, but how's the average person now supposed to pay that tax if just because the property value's gone up? Yeah. And he said, oh, well, the government is so generous, they'll even let you pay that tax out of your personal money. So you're supposed to now have like $470,000 just sitting in a personal account that you go, oh, yeah, just pay the tax. No, no one's going to have that, right? You're actually going to have to sell the property to pay the tax. This is totally insane, but this is the kind of people that are running our country right now. Now you're going to say, well, how do I get around that? Well, you're going to have to change your whole strategy now. So if you were thinking about just dumping money, dumping cash, dumping property, Bitcoin, whatever it is into your super fund, you're now going to have to come out with a new strategy because very, very soon you're going to have over $3 million in that super fund, and then you're going to be subject to that tax. Okay, there's been no incentive to do that. So what you're going to have to do is actually now buy assets outside of the super fund so it doesn't incur that tax. But then what's going to happen? Yeah, there's going to be other taxes that they're going to bring in. Yeah, because the current government has this warped sense of reality, which is we want you to do well, but not too well. Yeah, we want you to get up to $3 million, but not over $3 million. Yeah, they've kind of just capped it out for everybody, and I freaking hate it. I want people to be as successful as possible, and to do that, the governments of all persuasions need to reduce taxes and reduce regulation, because regulation is an impost on business, right? The other thing, just while I'm on a rant, is they need to decrease the costs of energy, electricity, production needs to be reduced. We are living in this country that's full of energy, right? From coal to potentially nuclear, they're now talking about wind and solar. We've got just energy everywhere, but yet we pay one of the most highest rates of energy in the world. And that's why manufacturing is not in Australia, it's overseas where it's cheap as chips. And that's why we need to bring jobs back to Australia by reducing the cost of energy. So in order to fix this problem, it's tough, but you've actually got to vote for the party that has less taxes and less regulation, and that will help Australia prosper into the future. So when we're talking about regulations, one of the things that I want to touch on is setting up companies in other territories. Now, for many of you, you won't be thinking about this. You'll be just thinking about maybe setting up a company to set up your Amazon business, say in Australia or the US. You can actually set up an Australian company that operates in America. You don't have to go and set up a USA company to have your Amazon account in USA and sell in USA. You can use your Australian company for that. But when it comes to places like the UK, it gets really, really complicated. Now, in my case, I've set up a UK-based company, but now what they've done, the UK government has made it even tougher. So in the olden days, you could just set up your UK company and you didn't have to live there and you didn't have to have a person of interest that sort of vouched for your company living in the UK. And now you do. So you have to, if you're living in Australia, setting up a UK company, you've now got to have someone in the UK who's going to vouch for your company. It's so that the UK government has got someone living within their jurisdiction who they can tap on the shoulder if shit goes bad. And so as you can appreciate, no one really wants to do that, okay, unless they're someone who's like a business partner based in the UK. So it can be quite complicated now setting up companies and operating in the UK. The way around that is to actually use somebody else's company in the UK, or what I also do is use somebody else's company in Europe, because Europe and the UK, the tax system is so complicated. I just want to make my life simple. I don't want to go through all the crap. So what I do is I outsource the product to somebody else who's already selling potentially in Amazon, who has a European or UK company already set up, and I just utilize their framework to sell my product. So they account for all the taxes and regulations and reporting within those countries, and I just invoice them the money. That today, folks, is probably one of the biggest hacks that I could have shared with you, because you just don't know that until you've been through all the crap. Now, what are the downsides with doing that? Well, of course, they control the product. They're controlling your Amazon account potentially. And so you have to make sure you've got a really, really good relationship with that person, because the money is also going to go from the sales from the customer into their bank account, and you're going to have to retrieve the money from their bank account by putting an invoice through them. So in my case, I've got really, really trustworthy people and companies in place. And of course, if you're looking to do something like that, you can also come and sign up with my mentoring program, because one of the things I do with all of my clients is I give them access to all of the tried and tested services and people that I've accumulated in my sphere over the many, many years. And I've been through people where I've been burnt too. So obviously I've now got to this point where I've got just really, really solid people, and I'm happy to give those over to you as well, so you can make things easier and faster by finding the right people to get you the sales that you need, and obviously getting the money in your bank account and not theirs. Okay, guys, that's the end of my educational rant. Let's call it that. We're going to give a new term, educational rant, because as I said in the beginning, my complete focus right now is minimizing tax. When you're making millions, and I know you are too, it's going to be a focus that you're going to have as well. And my other second thing is accumulating plenty of Bitcoin as much as possible. So look, I hope you enjoyed that. There was a few gold nuggets that I dropped in there, particularly for those who want to expand outside of Australia or the US, particularly going into the UK and Europe. That being said too, I just gave that gold nugget about outsourcing the sales for a different person or entity in those different countries. You could do exactly the same thing for a place like the US as well. Really, there is no limits as to how you could expand out that particular business model. And if you're interested in more about the business model, sure, reach out to me and I can give you more details about that. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate you joining me. Please give me some feedback. If you want to hear some different topics, then please let me know in the comments. Or if you want to tell me about how much you love one political party or the other, maybe you love the Labor Party, right? As much as I hate them. So maybe you want to put that in the comments as well, because I know that'll probably get you rolled up. Thanks for tuning into Amazon Ecom Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is to give a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and make sure to subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. You can also find more at I'm Matthew Fraser on all social media platforms. Thanks so much. Take care.